Hello everyone, Rick Davies, the legendary co-founder, keyboardist, vocalist and creative driving force behind the iconic rock band Supertramp, a man whose songwriting genius and soulful voice shaped an entire era of music, was laid to rest in a moving and emotional ceremony that gathered family, friends, fellow musicians and devoted fans from around the world. But what truly left everyone in stunned silence and tears was the breathtakingly heartfelt tribute delivered by his beloved wife, Sue Davies, whose words not only honoured her late husband's remarkable career, but also revealed the deeply personal love story that sustained him through decades of triumph, struggle, and ultimately his final battle with illness. The funeral itself was a celebration of life held in an atmosphere that was equal parts reverent and musical, with performances of Supertramp classics like Dreamer, Breakfast in America, and Take the Long Way Home filling the air, reminding everyone of the extraordinary legacy Rick left behind. But it was Sue's tribute that became the centerpiece of the service, as she stepped forward with a composure that stunned even those closest to her, her voice steady yet tender as she painted a portrait of Rick not just as a rock icon, but as the man she had loved, supported, and journeyed alongside for nearly 4 decades. Sue spoke of the early days, when Rick, shy and self-effacing despite his immense talent, was still grappling with fame and the pressures of leading a globally successful band. And she shared how their connection was never about the glitz and glamour of the music industry, but about an unshakable bond of loyalty, understanding, and quiet love that carried them through the highs of sold-out tours and platinum records, as well as the lows of health challenges and personal doubts. And she revealed intimate moments, nights when Rick would sit at the piano long after the world had gone to sleep, lost in melodies that would later become anthems for millions, or mornings when they would laugh over simple breakfasts, grounding themselves in the ordinary joys of life even as the world saw him as a superstar. Her words cut through the air like poetry, at once tender and raw, acknowledging Rick's private nature, his battles with cancer, and the extraordinary strength he summoned in his final years, while also celebrating the humour, humility, and kindness that defined him far more than the spotlight ever could. As Sue spoke, those in attendance wept openly, touched by her ability to capture the essence of a man who had given so much of himself to music, yet remained, at his core, a husband, partner, and friend. She ended her tribute with a stunningly poignant reflection, saying that while Rick's music will live on forever in the hearts of millions, what she will remember most is not the applause or the accolades, but the way he held her hand, the way he looked at her when he played, and the quiet moments they shared away from the world's gaze, words that left the audience in awed silence, a silence broken only by a standing ovation of respect and love for a woman who had just laid bare the soul of a legend. The reaction to her tribute has rippled far beyond the funeral walls, with fans across social media praising Sue's strength and expressing gratitude for the glimpse she gave into the private life of a man whose music shaped generations. And many have said her words were so stunning, so full of truth and beauty, that they felt like the perfect final verse to Rick's life song. Fellow musicians, too, have spoken up, noting how rare it is for a tribute to so perfectly balance the grandeur of a public legacy with the intimacy of private love. And some have even called it one of the most moving eulogies in recent memory. Ultimately, Rick Davies' funeral, marked most powerfully by Sue's unforgettable tribute, has reminded the world that behind every great artist is often a love story that fuels their art. And as fans revisit Supertramp's music in light of Sue's words, they are hearing not just songs, but echoes of a life lived in love, courage, and authenticity, making Rick's passing not just the end of an era, but also the beginning of a renewed appreciation for the man behind the music, whose memory will live on through both the notes he played and the love he inspired. Richard Davies was an English musician best known as founder, vocalist, and keyboardist of the rock band Supertramp. Davies was the band's only constant member and wrote or co-wrote songs including Bloody Well Right, Goodbye Stranger, My Kind of Lady, Cannonball, and I'm Begging You. He was known for his rhythmic blues piano solos, jazz-tinged progressive rock compositions, and cynical lyrics. Debut album Supertramp in 1970, Davies shared lead vocals with songwriting partner Roger Hodgson until the latter's departure in 1983, at which point he became the group's sole lead vocalist. Davies's voice was deeper than Hodgson's, and he usually employed a raspy baritone, which stood in stark contrast to his bandmate's tenor, but he occasionally sang in a falsetto, which superficially resembled Hodgson's vocals, such as on Goodbye Stranger and My Kind of Lady. Thanks for watching.